All right, you guys remember Leon Cooperman? He's known as the crying billionaire because he went on CNBC to talk about the wealth tax and he started crying like, "Oh my God, what's gonna happen to us?" Well, if Elizabeth Warren had gotten her way in her original proposal, you would have had 2% less. Okay, now look, it's not that the wealth tax doesn't have issues. It does have some issues. And he just got carried away crying about it on TV. It's absurd. But Leon Cooperman is a little bit more complicated than that, and he's very emblematic. And so what he's said now about how capitalism has changed is very interesting. So yes, he's a billionaire. He's the chairman and CEO of Omega Advisors. That's his firm that does investment, and obviously, apparently, successfully so. What's he saying now? Well, he's saying, well, because of what's happened with the massive bailouts, capitalism's changed forever. In fact, let me just give you his quotes. He said, "Capitalism as we know it will likely be changed forever. When the government is called upon to protect you on the downside, they have every right to regulate you on the upside. So capitalism has changed." Well, that's true, but guys, remember, the thing that's a little frustrating about guys like Cooperman is that's been the case for about 40 years. When companies run into trouble, we bail them out. Most importantly, and especially when banks run into trouble, we bail them out. And so for him to pretend now, all of a sudden, oh my God, it's the first, the government is helping the companies. And hence, they should be able to regulate them after helping them. To which I say, of course, right? So, in terms of that being new, it's not remotely new. In terms of it being correct in him realizing that and pointing that out, that's good. And it's really important when things like that happen because the billionaire class in this country honestly rule us all. So now that's been two different very wealthy CEOs going on CNBC saying, guys, this doesn't make any sense. Capitalism either means the free market decides, and that means the government doesn't help you, when even in a crisis like this, if your business has a downturn, that's it, sad day for you, pack it up, go home, free market, baby. Or we do help them, but then you got to be regulated on the other side. And so that recognition by the ruling class, and that's really sad but true, is unfortunately important. And so I'll explain a little bit more about how he's in the ruling class in a second. But first, one more quote. He said, "The country is moving to the left. Taxes have to go up. Quickly if Biden wins, slowly if Trump wins, but taxes have to go up. So things like carried interest, capital gains taxes, the ability to roll over real estate taxes, real estate sales tax free, and all that stuff is going to have to be eliminated for the good, by the way." So this is why I say Cooperman's a little bit more complicated than the caricature in the press. He's actually been in favor of taxes going up in the past. He's also donated to Democrats in the past, but that's why I think he's emblematic. So in 2016, he did not give to Trump, so he's not a Trump loyalist. In fact, in the beginning, he gave to Jeb Bush, and then to Marco Rubio, and then to Hillary Clinton. That is Establishment 101. And that is where most of our ruling class is. Most of the billionaires give to first establishment Republicans like Bush and Rubio. Then they're like, oh golly gee, they would have given me tax cuts and everything I ever wanted quicker. But fine, Hillary Clinton will give it to me, so-called begrudgingly, and perhaps in a more sophisticated way. So they're not in favor of Donald Trump. But they really can't stand Bernie Sanders, and for some of them, Elizabeth Warren. So to them, it goes establishment Republicans, then establishment Democrats, then Trump, and then it falls off a cliff, then progressives. So, but the ruling class now beginning, the tip of the iceberg, of going, oh yeah, that's kind of weird, right? I mean, we call it capitalism, and we brag about free markets, but, you know, in situations like this, we're begging the government for money. Well, then in that case, I suppose they're going to have to regulate this afterwards. Don't get me wrong, it won't stick. The minute we're past the crisis, all those folks will then turn around and say, oh, no, you can't have government regulation. In fact, Republicans are in the middle of doing it now. We talked about it on the live show, the main show. Anna and I did a little bit earlier. These days, our interviews start at 5:30, and then the Young Turks at 6 o'clock, so don't miss it. YouTube.com/TYT is a great way to watch it. If you miss any portion of it, click the join button underneath the video on YouTube, and you get our post games. You get all the show whenever you want it at the higher levels of membership. And by the way, you could also do it at our website. Very easy at tyt.com/join, and no trolls there. So now one more thing about this. I saw the Alan Greenspans of the world do this, where during the 2008 crash, he said, "I guess my view of the world was wrong." Wow. Okay. And so in moments where they're asking for money, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, well, mea culpa. I said, I got a little wrong, or maybe we got a lot wrong, or maybe capitalism has to change forever." And the minute it passes, they're like, no, don't regulate me. I'm back to making money, okay? I want to keep all my money. I don't want to give you any, even though you bailed me out. I don't want you to regulate me in any way, shape, or form. Well, sometimes the risks you lead to disasters, then we got to bail you. I don't want to hear it, right? So enjoy these brief moments where even billionaires get a little rational and go on TV and say things that are true. And they'll I don't know about Leon Cooperman himself, but generally they take it back later. Okay. But that's why we need a government that represents us instead of them. So the government will gaslight us later and say, oh, no, yeah, now we're passing regulations. Oh, what I was saying about the main show is that Anna and I talked about how Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are now saying, oh, now that we gave all the money to big business, you want to do the fourth stage of this bill where we actually give it to Americans? Human beings? Citizens? Nah. I'm worried about the debt. When they're giving it to their donors, they're not worried about the debt at all. When they have to contemplate, even think about giving it to you, all of a sudden, oh my God, the debt. Did you guys know about the debt? How are we going to pay for it? So that's what they'll go back to. If we had representatives that actually did their job and represented us, they would be like the Justice Democrats are in Congress right now, going, no, people first, citizens first. And when we're past it, they wouldn't change their mind. They would still insist on serving the citizens rather than the donors. That's why when I co-founded the Just Democrats, and when we were in the midst of trying to help those candidates, our one and only litmus test was no corporate PAC money. Because if you're not relying on those donors anymore, then you have wonderful fighters. We showed it on the show today. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all Just Democrats, all breathing fire. You got to actually help real Americans. And they will stay that way past the crisis. The Mitch McConnells and the establishment, Republicans and Democrats afterwards, will forget all the things they said now and will go back to serving the people that sign their checks. It's not that complicated. wolf-pack.com. And if you can, wolf-pack.com/join. Be a member now. You got to get money out of politics. They're working so hard to make that happen. If we can't make that happen, then this corruption will last forever and ever. And guys, one last thing about Wolfpack. So that's to get a constitutional amendment, to get money out of politics and fix the system for good and get our democracy back. But soon, you might have seen Vic from New York yesterday, the guy who was in a rage about what they were doing to average citizens. We're actually going to have him on the Young Turks soon. So that'll be one of the interviews that we run live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. But that rage is coming. It's not just Vic. A lot of people feel it, and soon a lot of people will be voicing it. And in a moment like that, that's when we can actually fix the system. If that moment passes, they're going to go back to business as usual. But that's why it's important to support Justice Democrats, Wolfpack, and all those organizations that are fighting for the right things right now. Remember, we still have primaries. So those Justice Democrats are still running. Most of them are still, we've only had 2 elections, and 1 out of 2 won. Marie Newman won. So go to justdemocrats.com to help those folks. But most especially, got to get the money out. So when that moment comes, Wolfpack, it's so important for them to have more volunteers and yes, more donors to make sure that they can do what they do. So wolf-pack.com/join. All right, guys. But it is interesting that even the billionaires, even the ones that were crying over higher taxes, at least in one particular area, I've now come around and go, yeah, I guess we were hypocrites and taxes really need to go up. He's wrong. If Trump wins, they will not go up. He will ride that ship right into the ground. There is not a rational bone in his body. Every bone in his body is corrupt. And so yeah, what he mentioned, the real estate sales being tax-free, Trump would not take that away under penalty of law. That's his bread and butter. There's no way he's going to roll that back. There's no way he's going to roll back any of the tax cuts. So, and Biden, will he do it? Super begrudgingly. But yes, Biden will be more likely to be forced into a situation where he rolls back the tax cuts, at least partially. A progressive would roll them back all the way. Biden would roll them back some of the way. Trump would roll them back none of the way. And that's what we have right now. All right, guys. See you soon. And don't forget to help the show too. TYT.com/go. Thank you, guys.